afternoon. There we go. Good afternoon. And welcome. On behalf of the Pro Football Hall of Fame and the Board of Directors of the Pro Football Hall of Fame Luncheon Club, I call to order the ninth meeting of the 62nd year of the Pro Football Hall of Fame Luncheon Club. Invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, will be given by Associate Pastor Aaron Hines from the Indian Run Christian Church.
Let us bow as we pray. Father God, we just come to you today and we just want to say thank you for your blessings and your mercy and everything in between for us to be here in fellowship. And as we fellowship, I just pray that we hold fast to your love and your guidance and your purpose that you have for all of our lives here today. We pray for the Snyder family as they're going through a tough time right now, as you've called Jeff home this past week. I pray for peace, patience, and understanding for the family and the friends and everyone that he was involved with in the community. I just pray as we're here today that if there's something that you want to reveal to us, Lord, let us hear it, let us see it. And as we leave here today, I just pray that you keep us all safe. Bless this meeting. Bless the men and women that are here. Keep us to be people of integrity for our community and be a light in a community that may have some dark places that we need to reach. If we are willing, Lord, please use us to reach those people that are lost. I pray these things in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Go Flyers! Go Cavs! Go Flyers!
Joining me at the head table today is Trustee Bill Costello, Associate Pastor Aaron Hines. To my left, your right, we have TJ Downey, Trustee, and a friend of our guest speaker, Gerald Scott Camp. And our guest speaker today is Gerald Cadogan. He's here. Gerald is the athletic director at Shawnee State. Gerald played offensive tackle in the NFL, the CFL, and played his college football career at Penn State. Welcome, Gerald. A couple weeks. I'd like to recognize and thank our club sponsors, Aultcare Primetime Health Plan, Dr. Peter Ferguson, Liberty Ford, Marion Motley Memorial Scholarship Fund, the Bistro of Green, and Wilkshire Golf Club. So congratulations to the Buckeyes. They win over Penn State. Not so much for the Browns, again. And congratulations to the Cavaliers. They've won 7 in a row to start the season. And congratulations to our high school football teams who now move on in the playoffs. As you came in today, as you know, we're selling these cut-a-buck lightweight jackets. They're $50, including tax and shipping. And if you're interested in purchasing one, we'll be selling them in the back today, next week, and on the 18th. They're $50, and they do retail in the store, the Hall of Fame store, for $90. So it's a good deal. And we will have the Hall of Fame logo and the club member placed on the jacket when they're ordered. So if you're interested, we have all sizes for you to try on. We also have the ladies' jackets as well, and the ladies have a hood. So if you're interested, please see us in the back after the meeting today. This week, Hall of Famer Andre Reed will be here in Canton as part of the Hall of Fame residency program. And tickets for the November 25th meeting at the Pro Football Hall of Fame will be on sale today and next week. Remember, you need to prepay your meal, and everyone must have a ticket to enter. And my quote for the day is from Zig Ziglar, and he said, and I quote, "What you get by achieving your goals is not as important as what you become by achieving your goals." And let's do the 50-50. Today's winning jackpot is $164.
Take it back on the table.
Make a friend today. Yes. We have 2 sets of tickets today. Winning ticket number is 777
Okay.
413. Tim, in the back. 777 413. Next week, our speaker will be Michael Roderick. Embrace the first step. And now, to introduce Gerald, is club trustee and owner of SMG Network, TJ Downey.
Dennis forgot to introduce my new assistants. Since I'm up here today, these guys, I put a lot of faith and trust in these guys right down here to make sure that the operation continues to run as smooth as it always does. Don't mess it up, guys. Yeah, how fitting that we have a Nittany Lion in our presence on a Buckeye Victory Monday. They're just, Gerald, I'm sorry, they're just going to keep coming all day long, man. That's the only one you'll get from me. Gerald's a graduate of Portsmouth, and you know, there's a lot of things that we're going to talk about, athletic achievements and accolades that he has, but most importantly, what he does for his student athletes as the athletic director at Shawnee State. Gerald first came on the radar to me as we are just a few years apart. When we would be inside of our offensive line meeting rooms and we would see the different recruiting boards of guys that were targets throughout not only the state of Ohio but throughout the country, and you know, we would always kind of take a peek because that might be your next competition coming up. That might be the next guy coming to take your job one day. So we would always kind of have jokes in there, and everybody talking about, oh, this guy Gerald Cadogan. Gerald Cadogan, he's getting a lot of traction, a lot of steam, a lot of people talking about how great of an athlete he is. 5-sport athlete. Tons of success from where he hails. Obviously went on to become a starter for the Penn State Nittany Lions and having a great career there, which catapulted him to not only at the NFL, as Dennis mentioned, the CFL, winning a Grey Cup in 2012 with the Toronto Argonauts, also played with the Stampeders, the NFL, Bengals, Panthers, Colts, Eagles, and Chargers. But again, what he's done for his student athletes is now the 4th athletic director at Shawnee State. And his vast sports background, it's not just in football, swimming, track and field, 10 seasons as a swim coach at Portsmouth. He's had numerous athletes that he's going to tell you about, that he's been able to not only mentor, train, coach, and really advocate for, as when you are an athletic director, it's your job to promote your student athletes. Starting to find out about a guy that, again, who is a teacher, has a master's in education. He knows what it means not only to be a student athlete, but to promote your student athlete. Does a phenomenal job, and he's going to tell you more about that. One thing that Gerald and I share in common, which we both kind of understand. We were kind of sweating up here a little bit earlier because we're talking about all the guys we had to block. And I mean, when you think about the Big Ten, we all kind of know it's a offensive line, defensive line dominant league, and for the guys in the trenches who are able to come out of that at the end of the season and gain the accolades like consensus first team All Big Ten, like myself and Gerald were. That's something that just kind of sticks with you, lets you know that it's a guy that you want to have on your side. You know, when it's 4th and 1, when you're down by a score and you need to get it done, this is the type of guy that you want on your side. Not only that, he's a man of faith. So let's give a warm Pro Football Hall of Fame Luncheon Club round of applause and welcome to Gerald Cadogan.
Well, you guys are a tough crowd. I have in my notes, do not mention the game this past Saturday. It's already been mentioned. I can't tell you how many times. But I just want to say thank you. I'm honored to be a part of this luncheon and to be in a room full of some great people. And just going down memory lane between the Buckeyes and Penn State. It's inevitable because they are so good teams and the fan base and things like that. So just going to tell you a little bit about my story and then maybe at the end have a little challenge for you as we leave here today. So I grew up in Portsmouth, Ohio. If you don't know where that is, that's 3.5 hours. So if you leave at 6:30 a.m., you will get here at 10:45 a.m. if you stop a couple stops along the way, so they say. But right along the river, and it's a football town. Football is king, and growing up there, I was no exception. In first grade, I was big enough to be on the Pee Wee team because you had to be in the 3rd grade in order to be on the Pee Wee team. So the best coach I've ever had, Anthony Cadogan, that's my father. I call him Coach Cadogan. And even though I was a coach, I was always Coach Cadogan number 2. Anthony Cadogan will always and forever be Coach Cadogan number 1. So Coach Cadogan, we're sitting there in the kitchen. He says, "Hey, I'm going to sign you up for football." And I'm like, as a first grader, you're saying, "Okay, sounds fun. Sounds like a blast." But in Pee Wee and in football there, you had to step on the scale to see if you could carry the ball, be a quarterback or be a running back. Because of my size and stature, that luxury was not afforded to me. I was always and forever will be an offensive lineman, which as a 3rd grader, as a 1st grader, it's not fun. The only time there's been 3 times I've touched the ball ever in a live ball in a game, and they've all been catastrophes. They've been fumbles, they've been interceptions. Like, if the offensive lineman touches the ball during the game, something has gone wrong. So you put in all these hours, you put in the 2-a-days, and you don't get to touch the ball. You're putting in the same amount of time as the quarterbacks and running backs, and they get all, "Oh, good job, Johnny, good job, Billy." And no one says, "Good job, offensive lineman." So I'm hesitant to say this in front of you guys, but I hated football. I despised it. I did not like it. You put all those hours in, you don't get to touch the ball, and you get no credit for the effort that you put in. But lo and behold, the next few years, I told my dad, "Hey, I'm not going to play football." He looks at me and says, "You're not going to sit around and get fat all summer. You're going to football practice." So Coach Cadogan strikes again. So now we're right around middle school, and now I'm pretty big. I can't catch. I can't throw. So being a quarterback, running back, or even playing defense was not an option for me. And I'm stuck again being an offensive lineman in a sport that I'm like, not so sure. So I said, I'm going to nip this in the bud. I'm going to join the band. I'm going to be in choir. I'm going to be on the swim team. Those things directly conflict with football practice and using my brain. So I remember being in band practice, and football was going to start probably within 45 minutes. And I'm like, oh, band practice is going over, so I'm going to miss football practice. This means, I missed too many practices, I'm out. My dad just happened to be in the vicinity. He looks over, sees I'm on the band, and in front of everyone, "Gerald, get over here. Football practice starts in 45 minutes. And mind you, he was not the coach. for the team. He was just one of those involved parents. So that's just how that part goes. So I get to high school, I'm playing football, and I started to develop a love-hate relationship. I'm seeing that, like, hey, football, I'm pretty big, I can push people. And for those who don't believe I can push people, meet me in the parking lot. Let's talk about the Buckeyes afterwards, and I'll show you what I can still do. No, just kidding. But being able to find the value of being an offensive lineman, and I learned the value of wanting to compete, wanting to be the best. Use my brain, use my strength. I may not be the fastest. I still to this day can't catch or throw, but what I can do is I'll compete. I'll figure out a way to get it done. So when we went to a bunch of football camps throughout the summer, I ended up from my sophomore year to my junior year, probably went to 15 to 20 high school age college camps. And from there, I was able to get a full ride to Penn State University, along with some others. Ohio State was in the mix somewhere there, but Penn State was a place for me. It felt like home. There was something about being a little bit further from home. Just Joe Paterno had just an awesomeness about him, the way he operated, the way he conducted himself, and his expectation for you, number one, to win in the classroom first, and then in the field of competition. So I landed at Penn State. And then I felt like the football thing recycled for me. So I had a love for football. I was first team, all-state and all those things. I was a big fish in a small pond. Then you get to Penn State and you got people that can do what you do, that are just as smart as you, that are just as fast as you, and just as strong as you. And I found myself hating football again. To the point, I'll never forget this day, that we had just finished our first practice of two-a-days, and Paterno says, get them chopping. So this is like our conditioning part. And at the most ever in my life, I've done 30 grass drills. So that's when you get them chopping, you hit your stomach on the ground, you get back up and chop. So we did about 30 of them, and I was like, hey, this is tough, and I'm glad we're done. He steps away, and our strength and conditioning coach says, hey, we have 3 more quarters of that. So we ended up doing 150 grass drills. Like, my head is spinning. By the time I hit the ground, they're blowing the whistle for the next one. The assistant strength and conditioning coach is standing right by our pocket to make sure we got all of our reps in. And I remember going back to the dorm room and calling my dad and say, like, I didn't call him coach, but Coach, come get me. This is too hard. And I'll never forget what he said. He said, here's your mom. He puts my mom on the phone, and her words to me were, baby, we're praying for you, and hung up the phone. And I'm thinking, I'm stuck. Like, what am I going to do? Like, I know where I want to be. Like, I know I want to start. I know it's in me, but this is hard. I have no clue of how to get from where I am currently to where I want to be. And that just caused me to stand on my own 2 feet and figure it out for myself. What I did know is, observing everyone, there were people that I was better than and how they acted and how coach responded to them, and those that were starting, and it seemed like they were coach's favorites. So what I did is I hung around coach's favorites. They were the favorites because they would do the extra work. There's a man, and we were just talking about this, Levi Brown. He was a first-round draft pick from Penn State University. He was just an awesome force. And what I did, I just hung around him. Hey, can I watch film with you? Hey, can I carry your helmet? Like, just being his apprentice. There was a group of offensive line starters that would go out just a little bit before all the offensive line would on game day. And I remember, like, carrying my helmet, getting strapped up. Hey guys, can I go out with you to the field and see what you do? I just want to hold a bag. And just being around the people that were where I wanted to be, I found out how to get to where I wanted to go. It was doing those extras. It was watching film. It was busting my hump in the classroom. It was knowing my assignments as an offensive lineman. If you want to play, know your assignments, know the audibles, know all of those things. If the linebacker and the safety are in a certain position, you got to know what's coming your way. And I found out how to get to where I wanted to be. And then next thing you know, I'm in the lineup. And I'm starting. Gerald Cadogan from Portsmouth High School, a guy that hated football at one time, is starting at Penn State University. Whoa, that's mind-blowing, right? And then so my identity started being, here we go, I'm Gerald Cadogan, the football player. You know, this is awesome. So senior year, I'm all Big Ten, and I have an opportunity to be in the NFL. So I make the jump to the NFL, and again, the football story starts back from square one. And then now at this level, not only are there people that can do what you can do, but now that the time is ticking. There's only a certain amount of time that you have to prove yourself. And for me, like I had the whole script ready. I knew to hang around people that were starters. I knew how to push myself. I knew the value of being an offensive lineman. But it was all gone for me in an instant when I had an injury. In Indianapolis, I remember blocking my guy, and then I saw out of the corner of my eye the other offensive lineman kind of threw his guy, landed on my leg, and just like that, football for that period of time was over for me. And for someone that had his identity in football, like I would go to a restaurant back home in Portsmouth, Ohio, I'd be at the Buffalo Wild Wings, and little kids would come up and ask me for their autographs, and they would ask me for photos and different things like that. Once I got cut and was back home, you would hear people, oh, that's the guy that's washed up. Oh, he just got cut. And so, yeah, I mean, it's fun. I can laugh at that now, but during that time, it sent me to a dark place, that my value as a person was diminished, and, you know, am I even valuable? And what I learned from that, and my challenge to everyone under the sound of my voice today, is to challenge yourself that your value does not come from your position, from your money, from where you live, and all those things. Your value comes from what you do with those items, with your position, with your resources, with your talents and your gifts to impact others around you. Because if your value was based on your title, that can change in an instant, but your value does not. Your value comes from what you do with your position, with your resources, with your talents, and with your gifts. And so I found that out doing that. Not doing that, I didn't cut myself. The owners cut me, or whomever. I fell short, I failed. So coming back home, I was still training, and I found it easier to train and get out of bed and push my body, just in case you get that call. I trained with the high school team. They were doing their sprints, and of course, you know, being a pro athlete, I'm running with the running backs and the wide receivers, and so it's a full circle moment for me to keep my speed up. And the phone rang a couple times. I had some stints, but then I got plugged into the high school, being an assistant coach and a teacher. And with that piece of information of using my platform to impact those around me, I've had great success with that. Through my failure, have had great success. One of the best success stories I've had, I won't say the young man's name, but it was a kid in 7th grade. I taught math. I love numbers, I hate letters, so don't ask me to spell or anything, but give me a Sudoku or a budget, we'll get to the bottom of that. So I was teaching 7th grade math, and there was a kid that was coming into my classroom that everyone had written off. Oh, he's a troubled kid. He's just like his dad. He's just like his mom. And at times I believe that, because this kid was a handful. So we get through 7th grade, and I move up to 8th grade math, and guess who's in my class again? This young man. There was just something about him that I could see that he just needed someone to take him under their wing and just pour into them. And that's exactly what I did. And so this young man ended up, going to high school, and I not only taught him in middle school, but I also coached him on the track team. Was my first track athlete that I took to the state tournament there in Columbus, Ohio. He turned the corner. He saw that someone cared about him. He saw that someone valued him, and he started to see the value in himself from our conversations, and he has turned the corner. He is right now a student athlete at Shawnee State University on the track team, and that has come full circle from my failures, and knowing that it's not your title, it's not your position, but rather what you do with that to impact others. So I just encourage you again today, with your title, with your resources, there's someone out there that needs to hear from you. There's someone out there that needs to just know that, they're cared for. And there's no one else that can do it except you. So use your title, use your resources, use your gifts to impact others. And let's roll up our sleeves and make this world just a little bit better than it was when we got here. So that's my spiel. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. That's the play. Ready, break. Happy to answer any questions you guys would have for me. I know we have a lot of time. I'm not a long-winded person. I'm just a passionate person. Roll up your sleeves. If you hear nothing else, and I know you have had some great speakers before, and we'll have some even better speakers after me. But just remember, there's someone out there that needs to hear from you. There's someone out there that needs your resources, that needs your conversation, that needs a nudge, and needs encouraged or supported from your title, from your gift, from your skill. Go do it. Because if not you, who? Yes, I'll start there.
Could you tell us a little bit about Shawnee's Town? It's a relatively new university, right?
Yes, I will happily tell you about Shawnee State University. Shawnee State University is a public institution in Portsmouth, Ohio. We have right around 3,000 students, and we have 23 sports and 2 club teams. So we have 25. We have just about 325 athletes that are under my jurisdiction. And my mission for the department is very simple. We want to recruit the best talent. We want to keep them there for 4 years to win in the classroom and in competition, and we want to win games. We're not practicing to lose. So that's where we are. There's an old stadium, Spartan Stadium. That's where the Detroit Lions started in Portsmouth, Ohio. And the city of Portsmouth is transferring that stadium to us. Also the Branch Rickey baseball facility. And then there's about 23 acres westward that Shawnee State Athletics is going to take over. And I'm looking to rebuild those and make sure that championships are played there, not only for the student athletes at Shawnee State, but also in that community. Scioto County, I don't know if have you guys been to down by the river, Scioto County? Ooh, it's at times it's rough. We have some. You come up here, it's very affluent. You can see that there's investment and things of that nature. There are some limited resources where we are, and it's my mission to take every resource that we can to turn that in to encourage, uplift, and empower the next generation. It's just a passion of mine because honestly, let's be clear, and I'm sure he'll tell you too, that our shoulders and knees and back don't do what they used to do, and but our brains do. And it's important for us to pass that torch to the future. So I know you're asking about Shawnee State. I'm passionate about Shawnee State and athletics, so I just had to share that little tidbit. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's beautiful down there, beautiful state park and the lodge. And there's a little town north of Portsmouth called Beaver.
Mm-hmm.
They went undefeated through the first week of the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody you're looking at down there?
So for the first time in my life, I'm not a coach. Well, I coach coaches, but I'm not a coach. And I know with so Shawnee State, we do not have football yet. Is this live? We don't have football yet, but we're looking at our different options. And when we do expand our department, we'll take anyone from anywhere as long as they're aligned to our vision and where we're going. We want winners in the classroom. If you don't want to do the time in the classroom and you just want to be a student athlete, go somewhere else. You're there to get your degree. You're a student first and athlete second. But yeah, in Beaver, if there are athletes there, track runners, baseball, softball, we'll go get them. I'll go. One email. I'll tell all the coaching staff. Go just take a gander. Go look at the rosters. Yes, sir.
Are you guys NAIA or NCAA?
So right now, Shawnee State University is NAIA, and we are looking for opportunities and what that looks like for us. Down the road and immediate ultimately for Shawnee State's growth. But we are an NAIA school. We're in the River States Conference, and we just moved from the River States to the River States from the Mid-South Conference. So another school, and I won't speak ill of this school, but Rio Grande is also in the River States Conference, and they are a rival. And I'll just leave it at that. Yes, sir.
I see you as a Renaissance man because you are not one-faceted. Could you tell the crowd, in case they didn't read your bio or any further about you, about your musical background, your other athletic endeavors other than football, and you've got albums out. I'm guessing you may have a book out or thinking about writing one or whatever.
That part, thinking about writing one, I always like to tell my story face to face. I think you just get that interaction, because even though I'm the one with the mic right now, everyone has a story, and I think conversation is the best way to get to understanding. But music is also a big part of me. It's kind of my stress release. I never really fit into a box in high school, in college, and even not so much now. But I love music, and you can't be in music and be a football player. Because they think, oh, there's the music guy, watch out for him. And then in the music world, they think, oh, there's the jock, watch out for. So I never really fit in a box, so I just carved my own path. You can be good at multiple things. You don't have to be one-dimensional. Find out what you're passionate about and do it. Do it to the best of your ability. Enjoy what you do. If no one listens to your music or reads your book, like the why drives a lot of it. And the why I do music is because I have a love for music, and it's one way I communicate to God. Like I'm a man of faith, and that's the way I'm wired. So the way I'm wired, I love gospel music. It helps get me through. God is the reason why I'm in the position I am today, and even having the opportunity to, I'm thinking like Gerald Cadogan from Portsmouth High School, from Portsmouth, Ohio, is here at the NFL Hall of Fame Luncheon. Like, oh my, like it's just a blessing to be in front of you. So again, use your resources and your talents to impact others, and that's all I'm really trying to do.
What instruments do you play?
I play drums currently, and then I sing. I won't be singing today. I did not bring, just to be clear, I didn't bring my guitar, and guitar is not one of the instruments I play, but that's my excuse. But it's just so drums and vocal, and it's just a way I like to unwind. It's a way I love just to let go, and it helps me reset. The music and listening to music and having that isolation from sports help me to be sharper in sports.
Yeah, I have a question for you. I think you said a lot of good things, but the one thing I think you said was powerful for me. My old man was killed when I was a baby, and I was 10 months old, and a few men have taken me under their wing. Babe Stern, when I was a little boy at about 11 years old, he showed me at the Police Boys Club what it was to be a man. I didn't have no grandpa. I didn't have no dad. I only had one grandmother and a mother that helped me. So I would say any person, the only reason I'm sitting in this chair here is because people that I love, and you have men that mentor you and show you what it means to be a man. Thank God you had a father, and the short thing you said about your mom was a cool thing, and I'm so thankful to be here. But the one thing I believe that we all need to hear is take some young fella who don't have, or maybe a little girl. I'm blessed with a lot of grandchildren, and I love them. But I tell you, there's a whole lot of young kids out here, a lot of boys going through stuff that might not have no man to help them. So if you can see that, as he had mentioned, that's the most powerful thing that I heard you say, and thank you. God bless you.
Thank you. That's 100% true, to look out for the youth and the young in this community. But I'd be remiss if I didn't say, the Bible says we're our brother's keeper. There are some people my age, some people your age that need you just to check in. How are things? So don't think that this message is just for the youth. It is heavily youth. I'm an educator at the end of the day. Being an athletic director at a university, they may hate when I call them, but they're kids. They're kids. But there are adults and your peers that need your support, your resources, your talents as well. So don't forget them.
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Quick question, I was reading your biography and it said you sung the national anthem way back.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit how you got to do that?
Yeah, that was a crazy call. So he asked about me singing the national anthem while former President Barack Obama was campaigning, and it was Coach Paterno called me, and he said, "What are you doing tomorrow?" Whatever you want me to, I guess. And he said, they want you to sing the national anthem for Barack Obama. And I remember saying, can I meet him? That was my only clause. I just wanted to meet him. And so, yeah, they obliged, and I met President Obama. His Secret Service was like all talking in there, you know, the little cuffs and blah, 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 and all that stuff. And I just remember sticking out my hand and say, "Hi, I'm Gerald," and he shook it real quick and said, "You're a big guy." And then he just walked away. But I sang, and that was it. Yeah. Yes. Do I have a crew team? No, we do not have a crew team. We have bowling. So he asked if we had a crew team at Shawnee State University. So again, we have 23 sports, all of our, all the major sports except football at this time. But we do have bowling, we have golf, we have tennis, swimming, all of those. But no crew team at this time. But we're open to it. Yes, sir.
Talk about your relationship with Paterno.
Yes, my relationship with Paterno. Let me just first start off saying he was forget everything that you've heard, and you can take this with a grain of salt, and this might be controversial. He was a great man. He did things by the book, and he cared about his players. He flew to Menford, Ohio, which is like 20 minutes from Portsmouth, flew into a small regional airport to come and sat with me in my living room to tell me about coming to Penn State and how much it would mean to have an offensive lineman like me there at Penn State. The other side of that story is every 5 minutes, I would just have random people I didn't know knock on the door of my house wanting to see Paterno. They just got wind of it, and it was just like droves came to the point my dad was like, "No, you're not invited." Like, you know, but just the way he cared for his athletes, and his emphasis on the little things. I got here a half hour early because Paterno, if a meeting started at 11, the meeting actually started at 10:50. And if you weren't in your seat at 10:45, you were late. And the meeting doors, when you open them, they squeaked. There was no sneaking into that room. So as soon as it was 10:50 on the dot, he would start. And then he'd hear the door, and everyone would turn to see who was coming in late. And then he would say, "See JT." JT was our strength and conditioning coach. He said, "See JT, or you have awareness training," which was like, we had Sunday was our only day off. If you had awareness training, you had this crazy workout on Sunday morning. Like whether you had a midnight game or, you know, if you had a night game and got done at midnight or whatever the case may be. But Paterno, he was a great man who cared for his university and for his athletes. Yes, sir.
So what 5 sports did you play in high school?
Okay, let's go there. So I ran track. I did play basketball. I played football. I was on the swim team. And so in track, I counted it as twice because I did throw. And I'm sorry I'm telling a bunch of stories, but that's why I'm here. I'm just gonna tell you my stories. So I threw in track, but there was one time my freshman year where the coach said, the gentleman that was on the 4x4 relay, last race, hamstring, something like that, and they said, "Cadogan, if you want a letter, you'll run this 400 on the relay." So I'm thinking, oh, piece of cake. One lap, got it. So bang, gun goes off, and I'm sprinting. And I'm looking, I'm like, I'm in first place. Wow, this is gonna be easy. So I get around the curve, and then that's when my body was like the check engine light came on. And the legs and the breathing and everything started. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm not gonna make it. I made it. We got last, but we did get the points, and I did letter. So that's why track counts as 2. I threw and I ran. Great question.
This might take you back a little ways. Do you know Dozier Carter, who graduated from Portsmouth in 1961? He was on state championship basketball. I wonder what happened to him.
So he asked about Dozier Carter. I do know the Carter family, but him in particular, I'm not sure exactly what happened to him, but there's a list of legends of Portsmouth that I familiarized myself with. So like the McKinleys, the Carters, the Parkers, the Johnsons, they hold a lot of weight in Portsmouth, and hopefully one day the Cadogan name will have some weight to it too, about having some impact, not necessarily like being a washed up former football player, but someone who cared about his community and could go anywhere in the world, but decided to stay in Portsmouth to impact, those around him. So, to answer your question, no, I'm sorry, I don't know all the intricacies, but I do know the last name for sure. Yes, sir.
What other teams are in your conference?
This is a trivia question. So other teams in the River States Conference. So you have Rio Grande, you have Bruscia, Indiana Southeast, Indiana East, Indiana Kokomo, Indiana Columbus, Bruscia, St. Mary's of the Woods, Alice Lloyd, I'm going to Oakland City, and there's a couple more. But I hit the main ones. And Shawnee State, the most important one, Shawnee State University. Yes, sir.
How'd you like playing in the Canadian League?
I love the Canadian League. Canada, when I was there, when you start speaking, they knew I had an accent. So they said, you're not from Canada, you're from the USA. But what I did learn is when you are living in Canada, do not tell the locals when they ask where you're from, you say America. They get offended because Canada is America too. So they would say, hey, where are you from? I'd say, America. And they like almost want to fight me. And I'm like, whoa, 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 no offense. So I've learned to say United States. But the culture up there was awesome. They were very welcoming to people from the USA. It was a great experience. And I was fortunate to have that opportunity. Won a Grey Cup. The story behind that, so that's like the Super Bowl of Canada. I told the team no, I wasn't going to come up there. I was just like, is this football thing, like it might be time for me to phase into the next chapter. Said no, and then something to me said, you know what, just go. I rotated a little bit, was more on like the practice side, was active a couple games, and we ended up winning a championship. So it worked out in my favor that time around. So, yes, sir.
What caused the 7th grade math teacher to become a college athletic director?
That is crazy. Full transparency. I had worked hard to get into the ranks of leadership at Portsmouth High School. I wanted to be one of the movers and shakers that can influence and bring programming and have more say-so in what directly impacted the students and the student athletes there. I worked hard, got established, and then the position came up. So I started the swim program at Shawnee State. So I worked 2 jobs. I would be at the high school from 7 to 3, and then go right to the Shawnee State pool from 3 to 5 every day. And then the position as athletic director opened up, and I almost said, I'm comfortable where I am, but something in me said, like, would you regret seeing someone else take that position? And what can you do in that position? Is that more influence? Is that more, would you have more direct influence on that program, and what could you do for this community? And ultimately, I would have regretted not applying. I applied, got the job, and been in this role for, I'm in year 2 as we speak. So, but have been with the university, this is year 6 with the Shawnee State University. So it was just opportunity and just seeing what you can, just having a vision of what could be. And Shawnee State is an awesome university. It's one of the pathways to make it out of poverty, to get the education, not only with a bachelor's degree, we have master's programs, we have a doctoral program as well. There are certificates and certifications where if you want to be EMS, so it's a pathway for our community to get out of poverty, or have pathways to have vehicles to go and do what they want to do. So just happy to be a part of it, because it's easy to complain, hey, it's Portsmouth, Scioto County, there's nothing good happening. You're either part of the problem or part of the solution, and I just opted to be part of the solution and just use my talents and resources to bring attention to it. So, yes. Yes, sir. These are all great questions. Thank you for asking questions, because there's sometimes you'll go out and no one will ask questions and you're just sitting there, blah, 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 blah. But you guys are asking great questions, and I love the dialogue. Yes, sir.
Going back to Joe, what was your take on the investigation
Do you think it was a witch hunt? And do you think he really knew what was going on?
We'll dive into the weeds. Happy to answer that question. He wanted to know some of the intricacies of what transpired there. I do know that the way Joe Paterno operated, I mean, if you are late to a meeting and given consequences for being literally 10 minutes early to a meeting, I can't imagine that that same man would have a double standard for something of that magnitude. It's one thing to say, hey, you have a flat tire, and it's another thing to say, like, hey, I witnessed someone intentionally flattening your tire. What was translated to him, I am not 100% sure, and I don't want to dive too deep in the weeds, but I will speak to that man's character. And again, if he would give you awareness training for a whole month for being late to a meeting twice, I couldn't imagine him having a double standard and just looking the other way when something of that magnitude was communicated to him.
So do you think it ended up being a witch hunt?
Someone had to take the fall for it because it was an image issue for the university itself. I know they took his statue down and all those things, and have since put the statue back up in a different location, and the dust has settled. But I don't want to get too deep into the weeds, but I don't want to dodge the question either. Someone had to take the fall for it. I'll just leave it at that. But again, I will speak to Joe Paterno's character, and I'm not here. If someone's wrong, you're wrong. But the way that the person I know and the person that coached me for 4.5 years, I can't imagine him having a double standard for some of those things. So, yeah. Yes, sir.
I really appreciate you coming and speaking to us today. I guess my question is, are you Division II or Division III, and how do you do your scholarships?
Yep. So we are NAIA, and so that's you have D1, D2, D3, and NAIA. In my mind, they're equivalent. And the way we do scholarships, let's say you are the new football coach for Shawnee State University, you would be allocated a budget for scholarships that would be in accordance to all the compliance that govern that. So there's a cap on it, just like there is in the NFL. So there is a cap, but you would have a budget to go out and get those athletes. And I would make sure that everything was on budget and compliant, and that we're winning too. Back there.
Why do you think what do you think about the current coach's problem at Penn State winning against, the ranked teams in the division?
Yeah, that's a double-edged sword, and again, that's in my notes. Do not talk about the game. but either way you cut it, from a fan standpoint, it's easy for me to be critical, sitting on my couch, rooting for my team. And yeah, I do have some insight in terms of hey, why didn't you run this play and why did you run that play? What we're forgetting is that Penn State is still ranked in the top. I think we're 6, so we're ranked 6. We're looking at going to the playoffs. He's recruiting. We are winning. We stubbed our toe. So it is. I don't know exactly. I do know this. That even as an athletic director, there's going to be times where I mess up, so I go and ask other athletic directors, hey, what do I do in this situation? Hey, how do I handle this? What's your opinion on that? And I believe for his pay grade, I hope he's doing the same just to get that intricacy, to get over that hump. I think he's able to, but the fans right now. But this is the same thing they said about Coach Day when you guys lost. They lost against Oregon. They were calling for his head. So it's a catch-22. You can't win them all. And my coach Bill Kenny at Penn State, he said they're on scholarship too. So the other team. So they're getting paid too. Yes, sir.
About the portal, what's happening with football today, college football. I watched football last weekend, and there was one school that was not involved in the portal at all, was Clemson. It showed up, he doesn't believe in it, he will not recruit through it. So that was one, and of course there's 2 other that aren't involved, Army and Navy. They're involved in the portal. I think it's
So he asked about the transfer portal in the collegiate football, or just in collegiate athletics altogether. The more I think about it, the more I'm turning into that, back in my day, if you transfer, like let's say I transferred from Penn State to Ohio State, I was not starting, because that was just the culture of it. The culture has shifted. This is Gerald's opinion. I think if you're going to have the portal and allow athletes to transfer, you get one shot. You get one transfer. You don't get to go somewhere and the coach says, hey, you're not good enough, go figure this thing out. He said, well, I'm taking my ball and I'm going home. No, stay there and figure it out. This, again, my opinion, that you get one transfer. The culture has shifted. You can't say you can't transfer, but I don't think you get to go one place here, and you just shop around. You get one shot, so use it wisely. Would be my strategy, excuse me. Yes, sir.
So, in your collegiate career or pro career, who are the toughest guys you had to block?
Oh my gosh, these are great questions. The hardest person I ever had to block, I was with the Carolina Panthers, and we were just an inter squad scrimmage. I don't even think it was a scrimmage; it was just drills. And Julius Peppers was on the other side. And have you guys seen the movie 300? Xerxes, the big, strong guy, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how in the world am I going to block him? Set hut, and this is just one-on-one pass protection. So I'm trying to block him. It almost like it was a cartoon. It was and the next thing you know, he was on the quarterback, and I was like, ooh wee, man, oh man. And then I was just telling, we were just talking about Tamba Hali. Tamba was a defensive end at Penn State. And it was one of the first times I got a concussion. But it wasn't like I was knocked out. I just got hit so hard by him that I saw those little floaters floating in the air, and I was like on Mario Kart trying to grab the star. I didn't know at the time. You just say you just got your bell rung, but now that's a concussion. So those are some of those big hit moments where you're like, ooh, wow. Yes, sir.
Can you tell us about the moment when you knew that you wouldn't be playing football anymore? And can you tell us about the moment when you seen your father? Mm-hmm. Because he was so passionate about you playing and driving you. What was that moment like? And what did he give you as far as advice to keep going as a man?
Yeah. So he asked me when I stopped playing football, what did my dad say? What was that interaction and kind of that transition from there? So you can ask any current NFL person. There's a person that hires you and there's a person that fires you. We call them Grim Reaper. So when you see them walking in the locker room, you're just hoping that they don't come by your locker and choose you. So it was my day, and that person said, hey, bring your playbook. We want to meet with you. Got cut, and I just remember it just feeling defeated and no value at all. How am I going to go back home? I'm an embarrassment to my family. Gerald, you didn't make it. The kid from Portsmouth that they said would never make it, you didn't make it. You failed. Look at you now, type deal. And those were some of the internal darkness that I was going through. And I'll never forget, my dad looked at me. He said, I love you. My mom did the same thing. And they said, I'm proud of you. I don't mean get choked up like that, but instantly, value was reinstated. And I still had some stuff to figure out on my own. But to have your dad and your mom tell you, I'm proud of you. And in a moment, I would not. There were weeks, about a week and a half, I wouldn't go outside. Didn't want to work out, or I would work out super late at night or super early in the morning, so I would have to avoid everyone. But to know that you still have value, that's what they reinstated my value. Great question.
Yeah, you're a good speaker. How did RJ find you?
Well, let me tell you about RJ. So I started the swim team at Shawnee State University, and there was a swim official there when we went to conferences, and we just kind of hit it off. We had conversations, so year after year, and he's in charge of all the swimming officials in the state of Ohio. So I mean that's a big deal. And then you know, he goes to different tournaments and different invitationals and stuff. I'm like, man, this guy is he's pretty high ranking. So we just, you know, had a friendship, and he invited me, asked me if I would be interested. And I got super nervous. I'm like, what am I going to say? Like, who want to hear my story? I'm not in the Hall of Fame, and I'll never be in the Hall of Fame, NFL Hall of Fame. I was there for 2.5 seasons, holding a bag for most of those times. But yeah, super great person. You got a gem back there. He's a jewel. Has a lot of value, and you never know how, like, swimming, in the world of swimming, we connected, and now I'm standing before you talking about football. But that's how we connected. One more question, so make it good. Nothing about the Buckeyes.
Is there a generation of student athletes coming along behind you in the Cadogan family?
So I'm the oldest of 3. My sister, she graduated from Marshall. She has her undergraduate and master's there. And then my brother did attend Penn State University. He should have been an offensive lineman, but he could catch and throw, so he was a tight end for some of the time, but then he was as big as me, so he floated between tight end and tackle. But the Cadogan legacy continues with our coaching abilities right now. We'll just leave it at that. So again, thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate it.